Well, hello. As you can see, I just finished the Voldis storyline, and as previously mentioned, I've already done uh, from the start of North Curzan on the main character, but that one and the other one, the sorceress was power pest. So now I'm like connecting the story, and as previously mentioned as well, I've done the Zeherade rapport, so obviously in many ways I have like spoiled myself in that regard. Like I know where things were going. I knew that the Zeherade will be smaller eventually. So obviously that pulled down the tension at times or at points, because when you know that something's gonna happen, then you kind of feel like, okay, is it gonna happen now? Is it gonna happen now? When are we getting there? So obviously there was no surprise when whatever happened at the end happened, but I wasn't sure about where the homunculus is gonna go. I mean, I named the homunculus Bibu because I thought, when in doubt, name stuff after something, that brings you, or something or someone that brings you positive feelings or brings you joy. But then you're getting all attached to the homunculus, and obviously there's this whole different views, different perspectives. Obviously there was the guy who basically lost his I suppose father figure as well, because from what we understand, when Mar something, I know this is quite rude to not remember, but some names are like kinda similar to each other, so I'm not entirely sure what their name is. I'm just looking that maybe I can find it in some texts here, but I guess I have all the combat XP in here for no reason. Marega. Yes. Okay. So Marega lost his parents when he was a child, and then the great sage was raising them from then on out, and then obviously the great sage sacrificed himself and used his heart to make the Zaherade, and there's obviously this whole like villain vibe, because in a way it's like he's right but also not right. It's interesting from our perspective, because if you look at it from our world's perspective, like even if you make a robot in human form, it still won't have feelings. But obviously homunculus is quite a bit different, with the whole golden path, and basically creating life when you make homunculus. So obviously it's different. And when we have our sage test, and we are getting basically bailed out by our little guy, but I'm not entirely clear on how much of that could possibly be on Septrum seemingly being in there at that point in some ways, or not. So yeah, but I mean, basically it's hard because it feels like we didn't do anything and we just got bailed out, but then later we find that, like, oh, that our energy is, working through the homunculus. So in one way you could say that it was, still us, but also at the same time what we are doing is uh, being being displayed through like actual, playable sections, while the stuff that other characters are doing is done mostly through cutscenes. Like if you look only think about the cutscenes, then it obviously feels like that we are not doing anything. And also obviously what I've already seen mentioned before I even started the story, it's like kind of weird when Marega was trying to take out homunculus, pick it apart for research, that we were like, no, I won't allow it, but then we allowed it. So it's like, yeah, I don't know, that we couldn't just stop it before it happened. But I guess uh Marega was on home turf, and I guess we didn't really wanna. But I don't know, like obviously doesn't really track. It doesn't really track. So I wonder if there was a better way to make that happen without us just having to basically watch. And then obviously we took out our weapons a bit later, but during that time frame anything could have happened. So it was kind of weird that we didn't defend the homunculus earlier. But I guess also Mareg is not a pushover either, so maybe it's reasonable that we just couldn't react in time. It can look kind of weird when you're in a cutscene and then your player character is just standing there and just looking out of their head, just doing nothing, like maybe making one tiny step forward and that's it. And then obviously later the weapon got taken out, and then Zahara they came in and then we ran away with Mario and the homunculus, and they were just 1v1ing in there. So yeah, that was interesting. But also at some points I definitely skipped a little bit of information, just due to the like shift G-ing at some points. But basically from the point when the homunculus was in danger and then we had to save it, from there on out I did not skip nearly as much from there on out. Like once you get I guess, or rather once the story gets any kind of hooks into you, so that it makes you interested in some aspect of it, then you're less likely to skip. And also that there is that method that I wanna probably at some point talk about a bit more. But there's like the method when everyone's complaining a lot about situations when there's a circle and then you have to sit there and then you have to wait for the bar, but that definitely has a purpose, right? Because in the meantime there's like dialogue or like other characters talking around you, and then basically that is synced up with the duration of the bar, that you have to like sit in the circle and wait, or you have to wait for your emote to play out or to resolve. And then if you were not kinda forced into that duration or into that time frame, then you would miss out on the story, on what the characters are saying. But there's definitely the argument to be made that obviously, okay, maybe like first time maybe you can deal with it, but then for the alts and whatnot, you could just skip all that part. And then obviously if you just want to be as fast as possible, then you don't really care about the story, especially if you've seen it before. So yeah, there could be some better solutions for that. But yeah, that's not really what I wanted to talk about. So as we go through the whole thing, it was just what we met I mean, we hopped up. We knew that we wanted to get access to Umbale, you know, the place where all the knowledge is held. So that's the reason why we came to Voldis, and then met Mario, and then, well, yeah, Mario got scammed, and then got scammed again, pretty much. And then we were like, oh yeah, let's become a sage. Let's make a homunculus, and then we did that, and yeah, and then I think that's pretty much it, because then we get to become a sage, and then we get up, and then we're like pretty much instantly in the situation with Marega, because like that, because like Zehrad was trying to keep us out. So if I understand it correctly, it was Zehrad, yeah, Zehrad would, yeah, pushed up the test, so that we would not be able to participate in the test. But obviously that didn't work out, because Marega had his own ideas, own designs, and obviously Marega noticed that our homunculus is quite peculiar, so he wanted to check out what's up with that. And then there was the other sage guy who, you know, helped us out, like the one that we were able to consult at like the beginning of the story. And then yeah, and then finally, through all the, you know, homunculus stuff, obviously for understandable reasons, Zehrad is very receptive to the issues and tribulations of homunculi, as we can see, because obviously she's also a homunculus, which is obviously was absolutely no surprise to me when I've already done the report. So yeah, that was pretty obvious. No surprises there on that part. Oh yeah, what I wanted to mention is I wanted to mention the part with the paintings. They were like very 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 cool, and it really elicited those feelings that we actually talked about. That was, it's like our character said that they're feeling awe and fear of. So like those are the feelings that the paintings elicit that we've seen, and yeah, like those are, well, obviously not like entirely, you know, shaking in my boots, but it was a very nice touch how it's like the entire floor was, you know, the painting, and then also the paintings on the walls as well. I think the art was very good. I liked it a lot. So yeah, that was very nice. About the building our like mindscape or inner world or whatever that we went through when we were doing the sage test. I don't really want a Regulus statue in my you know, mindscape or inner world. I would rather do without that one, because yeah, Regulus is very sus. But at the same time, also this whole theme of, you know, gods creating people, and then later we are creating homunculus, and then how our, you know, relation to it from the perspective of Marega, just homunculi being tools and nothing else. But at the same time, you know, as you see how they operate, and how we got, you know, helped out, especially during the test with the homunculus, that it's it's not quite like that. So obviously, like that part of, you know, homunculus dismissing as tools, like obviously there's an emotional aspect to it, of you know, basically losing their father figure, and then getting a homunculus in exchange, basically, like Zehrade. But uh, obviously at the same time we can see that they also kind of came around in some ways. Well, like obviously, it's I think there's no one's really arguing that. Okay, you probably shouldn't have been such a massive, prick to Zeherade. But it was like a very nice touch in the cutscene that we see that Marega is not promising when the great sage is asking him if he's gonna promise that the child will not be lonely, or he will help the child being Zahra, not be lonely, and then he's just quiet. He's not promising anything, not saying anything. And then as we know later, Vegas kept saying or kept telling Zarade that he's just a tool, and yeah, so it's probably not something that he only said that one time. It's something that has been said over and over again during the whole time. But I'm not entirely clear on the time frame, because like from what we see, like reasonable assumption would be right that especially because we don't really see any like homunculus that would like age or that would have change as time passes. So we don't really know how old especially Zehrad is. And then when we see them coming back, after the obviously the great sage sacrificed himself for Zehrade to be created or be born, in like kind of quotation marks, and then Marega and Zehrade came back, and then like Marega looked the same basically as he was later or in the present when we are here. So I don't really know the time frame there. Probably doesn't matter all that much. And also later when in rapport stuff, when Zehrade finds out what's going on exactly, and then she's like, oh, then I'm not gonna grow taller. That's pretty sad. But I can kinda console myself with thinking that okay, there's so many powers and so many wonders for better or worse in this world. So eventually, maybe once we get to we get a hold of this whole arc situation and then this whole Kazaros and whole Arjim and whole end of the world situation, then we can just go off on an adventure and find out a way for Zehrade to actually experience the passage of time, or like growing up like we do. I think that would be nice as like a headcanon. Obviously it's very unlikely that we actually are done with everything, because that's when the credits would roll, right? Because so like most likely there's always gonna be a new big bad as long as the game is alive. So, but I'm sure there's already so many things to do, and so many like gaps, I guess, in time where the whole rapport quests and all the fun stuff is, that I'm sure we can fit it in there somewhere, at least in headcanon. So yeah. Oh yeah, when I started talking about other stuff, it was when we finally got access to the all knowledge place. Zera got touched, I suppose, by our commitment and connection to the homunculus, and then obviously that was that part of the quest. It was nice, like the colors were nice and it was shiny and everything. Yeah, I don't know, I wasn't like all that interested in that part, but I was wondering a little bit how that would the all the sages and all the people who got lost or got trapped, in all that knowledge. Like maybe, maybe that it's not that terrible for them, maybe. Or I guess the whole reason that they got trapped is that it would, like, the prospect of leaving this sphere of knowing everything and sphere of knowledge is a lot more terrifying for them than being trapped in there, I guess, for forever. I don't exactly know how things are going in there. Like, are they kind of in some sort of suspended animation? Because like when we are in there, they are talking and moving. I guess like kind of wriggling around as they are held in midair. So I'm not sure how time, passage of time, and how aging and how everything like that is going on in there. So that's pretty interesting. But yeah, we were safe, I guess, the whole way. And again, we got bailed out by the homunculus, because there's a debuff that we get, and then on 10 stacks of the debuff we get like stunned every 10 seconds. But we have the homunculus with us, so we can just press F5 and we can cleanse the debuff. So I guess basically that's how it's manifested through game mechanics, like the whole curse, because that was the icon in here. We get the curse, and then we get the stacks of the thing, and then no one else had the homunculus to cleanse the debuff, so I guess everyone just got stuck there. And also we have Zera there with us, so that probably helps as well. So yeah, we did that, and then we got some cryptic nonsense, which I'm sure is very useful. It's weird because like on one hand you could say, okay, yeah, that's cryptic nonsense, but on the other hand you could say, oh, we didn't really know anything new, or I guess we have learned something new, but that was already spoiled earlier, probably due to like translation and whatnot. So I'm kind of ambivalent on the whole thing. But yeah, I'm sure that was worth it. And then you already know, like we come out, like when you come out and then the only way out is through a dungeon, then you already know that things are going bad. Like, oh, just go back, and then there's a dungeon right there, and like, okay, well, I'm sure everything is fine in the tower, that's why we have to run a dungeon. And then we went in there. There was like another chaos guardian, I guess, who helped bail out the chaos guardian that was already trapped. And another reason why I'm not entirely sure about what's happening in that part is that I have the automatic skip of dungeon cutscenes obviously turned on in settings, and I didn't turn it off before doing the quest, or like doing the Voldis stuff, storyline. So once I'm in the dungeon, it just auto skipped all the cutscenes, and I had the option of turning it off, but then I thought, hey, yeah, this is fine. So I just ended up skipping that part. So I'm like, yeah, I guess Mariga died in one of the cutscenes probably, and then also Zehrade died. But as we have found out earlier, that, and as long as the core is intact, then basically homunculus can be rebuilt or revived, however you want to put it. And I was also thinking like, oh, it's kind of lucky that we had, it's like basically inbuilt, like some sort of equivalent of a DNA or something, like all the basically all the 3D printing instructions in the core, because we were like, okay, yeah, Zera became like a child, but considering how many all the things can go wrong, I think it was a very favorable outcome overall. And also I wanna like a little bit defend Mario as well, because I've seen some slander, and then obviously there is a understandable distaste maybe for just as like a general general theme of the NPC that is with us and it just doesn't stop talking. But at the same time, I think Mario is very even with his naivete, obviously, getting scammed and whatnot, and just being all loud and whatnot. I think it'd be first of all very very competent. I think that's what the information that we got is saying, right? Like with the whole thunder. Okay, I should remember, because like there's like thunder strike and thunder wing, the thunder storm, thunder something. I'm sure it's in here somewhere. Give me a second. I did some, made some screenshots just in case. I can pull it up. Not a lot. Also, they look so weird in here. So yeah, I named the homunculus Bibu, like I said. And I was thinking, okay, surely they don't do anything bad, but then that was like a bit, touch and go in there when Marega was trying to pick the homunculus apart. So I was maybe a little bit worried, but then we were able to save. Bibu, Bibu, Bibu. So yeah, and just then there's like not, I guess not, it's like a first meeting, but then we've seen Zera right away when we arrived. He's chilling there. Here's the homunculus down there. Yup. With balance, yeah, we saved Bibu. And here's I think it's like before we go into the umbrella thingy. Okay, and there's like two more here. What did we do here? Okay, I'm just gonna move it to up here. That's just the same one. I think there's this like there's like B after the whole thing. I think it's like where we are. Yeah, the new Zahra there, like the small Zahra is already here, and then yep, one more there. So yeah, like obviously just through the screenshots you won't really know what the heck's going on. It's not really the reason why I made them anyway. But yeah, and then we managed to rebuild Zahra thanks to, and that's why I said that my man, how do I keep forgetting? How do I keep forgetting the sage's name? Marega, yes, okay. So yeah, because basically that, like we were able to be, we were able to acquire the materials quite easily, and so yeah, like in the end it also came around to the whole reason why Zahra was created, right? Because like the great sage at that time said that the human life is short and everyone expires, and we kind of need someone who can be around for longer, I suppose, and still have all that knowledge and capability at their fingertips. But at the same time, there's like a different core values or different absolute law that was written for the new iteration of Zaharade. So I wonder how that's gonna work out, or if that's actually gonna be. I mean, it's probably gonna be in line for the most part with what the original creator wanted to do, right? Because like I still think like eventually Zara they will be at the point when she can still protect the tower and protect the sages and protect whatever she needs or wants to protect. But for now, it's still learning stage and also actually being able to experience life as well. So like it's not just the same Zahra they reprinted, but with different absolute law, different rule set that she has to abide by. So yeah, but like I said, I'm very okay, kind of came around because without his, like I'm sure he would have been able to just make it close to impossible, if not impossible, to make to let Zarade revive. I'm sure materials you can just do it out of nothing. And I'm also kind of wondering how the material is just being applied, because that was basically like the neck dress part that was just there, and then in some way, shape or form the energies, like the materials, they just flew in there when mainly Mario was doing stuff, and then it didn't work, and then our homunculus was again coming to the rescue. But then at that point, the goddess stuff from the Acceptrum was already out of the homunculus, so it already left. So like when they did it, it was without the god power, I guess. So like I don't know if that's something that was like every homunculus would be able to do. And I was a little bit, for a split second, I was a little bit worried that after all that, our homunculus might just sacrifice itself for Zaharade to come back. That would have been kind of annoying, kind of sad. But no, it wasn't like that. Obviously, it was established earlier, like homunculus can just do that. Then the forgotten and left behind homunculus helped out our own one, to stay alive. And then obviously that happened later. So obviously there's a theme there. So like paying it forward, I suppose. And so yeah, that was neat. And then we got back Zarade. So I don't know, obviously the specifics of how that actually works, but that's also another example of how Mario is pretty good and pretty competent. Like the Thunder something was built out of those leftover parts. We're just able to scrape together in the basically scrapyard. Obviously, like later there's this Mario being filled with guilt when he finds out how those homunculi are not not just monsters, but yeah. And obviously Mario feels very guilty. So yeah, that was basically it. Like it was not only Mario, obviously other, as far as I understand, obviously other sages lost their lives as well. And then we're like, kinda getting ourselves together, I guess. And also one more thing that I've seen someone mention, like, okay, that it's lame and it's ruining the prestige of the sages that Mario became a sage. But at the same time, I'm rather thinking like our player character, like why did they become a sage? I mean, I know they had to become a sage so that they can access the place of all knowledge to find out the Lost Ark, the whereabouts of the Lost Ark, which is like to get more cryptic. I guess it's not cryptic nonsense. That's not fair, because we see we see the volcano, we see Mount Antares, which is why we go to Curzon, I suppose, right? So like, it's not fair to say that it's cryptic nonsense. It's an actual place. It's just the lead up to that is obviously cryptic nonsense. But at the same time, you could also make the argument that in a place of all knowledge, even if it's like the a straightforward answer, it's probably gonna sound like cryptic nonsense for most people anyway, because they don't know everything the same way as the place of all knowledge does. So yeah, I think it's pretty interesting. So yeah, overall, I liked it. Uh, yeah, yeah, I liked it, and obviously I'm not as annoyed anymore because now I feel the home stretch. Like I know like South Coast, and now it's connecting basically what I already know from North Curzon and onwards, and as I'm catching up to it, it's like basically the South Curzon is the connecting tissue between the two, and then once I do that, I'm gonna be able to see the whole trajectory of the story. Obviously, I'm probably missing bunch of things that you can find out from extra quests or hidden stuff, environmental clues, when like notes on the ground, that sort of stuff. So like obviously I'm not saying I know everything once I catch up, but like the general idea, and where I'm going from point A to point B to point C and onwards, and then I finally catch up basically, because I was complaining a little bit about having to go through all this if I want to just get to the point where I can just get keys from Paradise for the odds. But at the same time, like this is all time that I spent away, and for people who actually just kept playing the game, then these continents and these stories just all came at a very, I guess, forgiving pace in the sense of getting through them with all the characters. And obviously, if someone really doesn't have the inclination to do it or doesn't have the time, they could just knowledge that transfer over it. But then you're missing out on stuff. I didn't hold everything. I did pop some of this already, but there's like legendary to rare card packs here. Card XP. Let's just open these and then I'm gonna wrap it up. And there's the legendary card pack already. That's pretty good. Usually I don't get those from these packs. Now this is a yep, that's an epic. Yeah, like that's how it usually goes. Never work on. That's fine. So yeah, but the first one was a legendary pack, so that's nice. I guess you can never have enough cards anyway. In worst case, they just convert into XP. That's fine. That's 9 here. Also, another random aside, but if someone's like really starving for XP, I guess they can just go around when the hourly bosses spawn, and they can just go back to like the older ones and just one tap everything. Although obviously that's like that's pretty selfish if other people also need those for whatever reason, right? So maybe it would be, I mean, at least that's what I did, right? Like I'm sitting there and I'm not going there and straight up one-shotting it, but if I'm in the area and then the quest is almost over, because it spawns on like the hour, like hour 3 minutes, I guess is when it starts. But and then if the time runs out and it's almost over, then I guess if you're around you can just go there, one tap it, and then you get like a little bit of card XP. Although I don't know if that's worth it or not. But yeah, I did this, and then I don't know if I have it in me to do South Curzon as well tonight. Probably not. But there's this one, and then I push this one up to the level as well. But this one needs to do Rowan, and then Agesha, and then Plechia, and then Voldis, and then South Korean. So I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do that this week. I guess I probably shouldn't force it because I've already missed so many weeks of Paradise that missing one more is not gonna matter too much. Especially here, like look at this. I hear everyone say, how crazy Paradise is, and it can be obviously, but then I'm thinking, okay, my alt went from 1600 to 1601.66, and it's like that's what I got from the Paradise. So yeah, I don't know. This one I am like at advanced honing, at parts, and then I need to do the Brelshaza this week, and then get Mokoko tokens and get one legendary selection pack. And I said earlier, I think that I'm not gonna be able to get 2 of them because I kind of messed up and didn't do enough group content with for the Mokoko tokens, so that's unfortunate. And yeah, that's where I'm at. So yeah, but Voldis was neat, I suppose. And now it's onwards to Korzan, finally. All right, so yeah, that's it. There was a lot of talk, but I think I wanted to say all that while it is still fresh on my mind. Okay, bye.